Hey guys, it's Steve here from the 21st Century Physio Podcast, and have we got another massive episode for you today? We've got Hooten from Clinic Apps joining us. Now, Clinic Apps is a great piece of software out there that is transforming the way that we communicate with our patients and clients and automating a lot of the things that we already do in our practice. Hooten's going to drop some great knowledge bombs about how we can improve the education of patients, improve our communication with patients, and increase their adherence to their management plans to make sure that they don't drop off their treatment programs. Let's get straight into it. Here's Hooten. All right, welcome Hooten. Welcome to the 21st Century Physio Podcast. I'm really excited to have you here today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Now, tell us about yourself, and your journey up to this point in your career to where you've developed this awesome system called Clinic Apps.
Yeah, so I am a vet. I studied veterinary in my first episode of life, I can say.
Right.
Yeah, and I never really practiced vet that much other than in university and maybe 6 months after university. During the time that I was in university, I created my first company when I was 19. It was in print industry. We were creating cards with value, like the cards that you, for example, phone cards that you scratch off, and there is a value in it, and so there are dynamic variables printed on the cards. So that was my first company, and then I'm from Iran, and there are some issues in Iran for many, many different things that didn't let us to expand. It was very difficult to expand being in that region, and I decided to take the company, go take it somewhere else. And that was also very difficult. Although we had very large market share in the market over there, it was not really possible. So I made the decision to come over here to Australia. It was maybe 12 years ago.
Nice.
I came here. I could barely speak English. So I went to Melbourne Business School to learn to get an MBA and also get an understanding of how business is happening here and also meet some cool people, which was a fantastic experience. I did an MBA over there. After that, I joined a company, Ernst & Young, as a strategy consultant. So that was also a very fantastic experience. Probably I went to every building in Australia within those corporations, and I saw how everything is working. We started with Telstra and went to Kraft and BHP Billiton and so many different companies. After that, I started. That was very interesting, but it was not satisfying me 100%. So on the side, I'm talking about 2010 when mobile apps were very new.
Yep.
I started creating some mobile applications, and I started creating some mobile applications for veterinarians.
Okay.
Because of my background, and I started doing those. They were cool. I still have some customers from that company, and suddenly Monash University had an idea that they wanted to do some branding for little kids using iPads. So they wanted someone to build many applications for them, and it had a cloud-based content management system attached to that, so that they could go and create new content for kids, and it automatically changes the content of the apps and all those kind of things. So I was engaged in that. That was a humongous project. It had, I think, more than $8 million seed fund in that project. So we started that, and I was there for 3 years. We created that and deployed it, and it was really cool. And we had many kids, and there are kids on it that are using it. When that project finished, I went back to that mobile app thing that I had for veterinarians, and I wanted to expand that. But this time I had a lot more experience in creating these kind of platforms. And one of the biggest things that when I was a vet and I was talking with my clients, that what's the thing that you really need was a kind of automation that could help them to talk with their clients in a more efficient way. So that was basically the birth of Clinic Apps, that I started doing that automation. And because of that background that I had in Ernst & Young, especially around data analytics, I thought that just automation is not going to be enough. So we added a dashboard so that people can easily monitor their practices and understand where are the issues, so that when they want to do automation, they can act and check everything that has this automation worked, and where can they improve it. So, and that's the reason right now in Clinic Apps you see these 3 sections. That one is dashboard, the other one is the automation, and the other one is mobile app. And yeah, that's basically my background.
Fantastic. So when did you decide to move from cats and dogs to humans?
Yeah, so I wanted to start this with vets, but one of the issues with vets is that it is not that big industry. So somehow around above 2,000 clinics exist in Australia. Yeah. And these 2,000 clinics use many different types of practice management softwares. So for us to integrate with each one of them would have given us a very large portion of that market, and that wouldn't have given us enough breadth to be able to sustain a startup. Yep. So I did a little bit more research. I went into, first I was thinking about GPs, and that also was a totally different arena. And then I looked at allied health, and I realized that Clinico is having a very, very good spread, both in Australia and overseas. So I felt starting with them would be really cool, and then from there we will expand. And that was the reason that we switched, because really there is not much difference. Patient is patient, and those interactions and reception desk and everything is basically the same. Yep. So that was the reason that I went to allied health, and I'm very happy of choosing that industry. It's a really, really cool industry, and very nice people I've met so far from that.
No, definitely. I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think it's definitely one of my favourite clinical tools at the minute to drive, better business metrics. So that dashboard that you've created in Clinic Apps itself is great. Really puts the numbers that you need at the forefront of your mind, and then being able to automate the communication. Once you've set it up, literally it's your receptionist that just works 24 hours a day. It's really genius. So there's probably a lot of people who are listening who haven't heard of Clinic Apps at all. Tell them what it is.
So we call it basically an automation system for patient relations. So it's doing everything that a clinic needs to do in terms of patient relations, that does not really need that human touch. Before we started, reminders were the only thing that was happening automatically. All PMSs were sending out some SMS that said, okay, you have an appointment upcoming in 24 hours, or something like that. But nothing else on top of that was happening. And a lot of that was on shoulder of the reception desk to take care of. So when someone has not seen a clinic for more than 6 months and they want to recall them, or what we call it, reactivate them, and some of them was not even humanly possible. So when someone cancels and you want to contact them instantly after that, and then follow up, and especially when the clinic size goes beyond 2-3 practitioners, for reception desk to keep up with all those things is basically, it's very difficult, very costly. So what we do is that we automate all of that, and these are some basics, and we also can automate things based on treatment notes and other types of triggers that people create themselves. So it would be fantastic for follow-ups and different types of patients and different appointment types and different timings and everything. So it's a full automation platform for patient communication. So this is the patient communication part. Another part that we have is patient satisfaction tracker that helps people to track their patient satisfaction. It's based on Net Promoter Score. Do you want me to talk about Net Promoter Score? It's
I think so. Personally, from a clinic owner's point of view, I think it's really helpful to know, how your patients are feeling, interacting with not only yourself, but with your team and with your staff at the front desk and in the treatment room too. So I think, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so Net Promoter Score was made by a company called BCG, and they were doing a lot of market research, and what they wanted to do was to get some understanding of get an understanding of patient customer loyalty and understanding customer satisfaction of the services that they were working with. And what they realized was that every question that they have in their questionnaire has a very close correlation with one question, and that one question is, how likely are you to recommend us to a friend or colleague based on your recent experience? And this question was always correlating with every other question that they were asking. And then many other people around the world started doing research around that question, and it has become the best question that you can ask. Harvard Business Review called it the only question that you need to track, and it is basically a North Star for every company right now around the world to track their satisfaction rates of their customers. So I embedded that into Clinic Apps to give the capability to track that, because most of the times that patient satisfaction comes from gut feeling, what happens inside the room, especially for larger clinics when they have many different practitioners. They want to understand a new recruit has come in, or many things that are happening, or even the satisfaction is not about the service that is happening inside the treatment room, but because of the car park, people are not happy, or because of something else, they are not happy. So this will very quickly gather that information and gives them that information. And we also provide some automations on top of that. So when someone is identified as a promoter, someone who's very satisfied, and they tell you that I will promote you to my friends and colleagues, you can automate that, and you can ask them to actually go and do that by giving vouchers, or if you're not in Australia, asking them to give you Facebook and Google reviews and those kind of things. So that patient satisfaction tracker also is a very cool feature, and that the dashboard is my favorite part, which has the capability to understand everything inside the clinic from overall point of view, how the clinic is going overall, how is revenue happening, what are the issues overall, and then drill down deeper and deeper, understanding why each issue is happening, what has gone right and what has gone wrong, and break it down to the level of each practitioner or each appointment type and time and all those kind of things, to be able to basically improve the practice.
So what are some of those key KPIs that you look at in the dashboard that you've integrated into Clinic Apps?
Yeah, so we get this question a lot. So we recommend two ways of looking at it. One way is that there are some metrics in our dashboard that you can easily put in your dashboard that gives you an overview of the clinic. Something like overall how much money we have made, the trends of money, overall what is our DNA rates did not arrive rate, overall what is our cancellation rate, overall so these things, or some more metrics like what are the cancellations with no rebook, or what are DNAs with no rebook. These are some metrics that can give you a general understanding that, for example, our clinic has, and what I see in many times is that clinics with, especially with cancellation no rebook, some clinics have somewhere around 65% cancellation with no rebook. So they need to, as soon as they see that, they can create some protocols internally to reduce those numbers. So this is one type of dashboard that we really recommend. And then another one is drilling down into each one of these. So overall, when they see that, okay, so for example, we have a lot of cancellation no rebook, when they break it down to first appointment, second appointment, this type of appointment that I have, or and then they realize, oh, actually cancellations are mostly happening in this one, and this drill down analysis would really help them to understand that. So some of the key metrics are definitely average patient value. So what is lifetime value of each patient? So when you know that number, you can understand how much money you can spend on patient acquisition, how much money you can spend on treating your patients, and all those kind of things, and what is the number of average visits. So on average, how many visits a patient I'm providing. So these are some key metrics that needs to happen in as a general overview of the clinic. And then when you find which one you want to improve, you can dig deeper and understand those, and then act on them. And many of those actions can happen through automation. And we are always in the platform helping people to create some automations based on those metrics.
And I think the key is making sure, like, there's lots of data that you can collect on your patients and your clients and in your practice. The most important data that you can use is the actionable stuff too. And I think that's the thing that Clinic Apps really does. It allows you to automate that data. So I'm sure that, I know as a business owner, we were collecting a lot of this data beforehand, but a lot of the time it would just sit there in some nice looking spreadsheets with some pretty colors. And, because we're busy practice owners, we're seeing patients, we've got other things on the go, a lot of that stuff wouldn't get action. So being able to have that automation feature to then say, okay, if this happens, let's, implement this strategy, it's really powerful, I think.
That's right. That you're very right. And one other thing is that when the data is there and you need to download it and create the spreadsheet and plot the graph and then look at it, just doing that will take so much time. That happens less often in a clinic, and that will affect the productivity of the clinic, and the person who is doing that is not making money somewhere else. So because it is always there and you can just drag drop it into the dashboard and click process it will give you, that makes it much easier to track and action.
Yeah, and it helps to drive communication with your team as well. It puts it into some nice, you get some really nice graphics on the back end there that allow your team to then, have a look at where they're at compared to the overall clinic. It also starts to show them areas that they can improve as well, and helps you actually train your staff to get better results for your patients and clients. Because if they're not coming back, you're probably not, or either you're doing an awesome job or they're going elsewhere and you haven't done a very good job to get them where they want to go. So communicating between the team, but also communicating with your patients too. I think that's the biggest tool and the biggest thing. It drives communication. Yes, people get busy, they cancel their appointment, they're not sure at their diary at the time, they forget to rebook, and then 3 months later they present with the same thing. So implementing Clinic Apps into our practice has really helped those patients and clients get where they want to go, and not have to come back 3 months later with the same problem and you have to start again.
Yeah, that's very correct.
So what are some good strategies that you see practice owners using?
Yeah, so we predefined very standard campaigns that we have in the platform, something like we just talked about, like when someone cancels an appointment and does not have any future appointment, you want to rebook them. Yep. Or when someone does not show up after a while, send them a message and follow up to make sure um, they will rebook, or they do or whatever the protocol is. Some people even charge the client if they do not show up. And another one is lapsed patient reactivation, which has a very, very good effect on practice revenue, and especially when that is automatic. As people are falling into the bracket of inactive, the system can automatically activate them and bring them back in, which what we see is fantastic for all clinics that are using that. But some people are using the way they're using it. I love that, because these are basics that you can do, but they create some triggers internally using their treatment notes based on their patients and their patient needs, and they use those triggers to communicate with their patients. So, for example, we have some physiotherapists that work with athletes, and what they do is that they have different types of, so for example, they have 5 type of issues that they have with the runners that they are working with. And what they create is that in their practice management software, they create some checkboxes, and they when they see the patient, they click those checkboxes, and they have created some relevant information for those particular patients that will automatically go to them. So they automate ebooks, they automate very specific information about that condition that patient has. And this is what we really love to see, because it will help increase patient loyalty. It will help the practice to act more professionally, and overall increases the health of the society, whether it is for an athlete or for a patient who has a back pain. Instead of receiving a newsletter per month that is talking about so many different things, and many of them are irrelevant, and it will make people to read less those newsletters and not be engaged as much as they need to. These type of automations that make everything very, very relevant to that particular patient type is what I love when I see in the platform.
And it allows you to put the work in once as a practice owner. You know, you create some education documents around knee pain or around chronic low back pain or just chronic pain in general, and then automatically by ticking that box, they've got the email before they even get home, so they can start to then educate them. You can even set up, we've got some strategies that we're going to start to implement hopefully over the next few months, which are some courses specifically driven around particular conditions, like you mentioned, running injuries, knee injuries, low back injuries in particular. And so I think providing that unique content and going that extra level compared to the normal practice, one, you know, as I said, increases the loyalty to your practice, but two, again, takes patients further and gets them back, because that education, which you only get as a therapist, you know, traditionally 30 to 45 minutes with a patient in a consult. So you can take that education and then do that outside of hours as well. You know, they're going to get better long-term results, I think, definitely.
Exactly. Right.
The other thing I love about, you know, the ability to read through the patient notes, which I think is genius, is just being able to trigger off, you know, those, you know, you need an appointment in 3 weeks' time. And if they haven't got an appointment in 3 weeks' time, it automatically pings them off an email and sort of says, just checks up, drives the communication. Hi, Jane, how are you feeling? Just noticed that you're overdue for your appointment. Give me a call. Let me know how you're going. And so it starts to open up the communication in regards to that too.
That's right.
So what have you found hasn't worked in your system? Have you had any sort of horror stories from owners, or have you seen some things, strategies that people are using that just aren't working?
Well, there so horror stories, we had a lot of those. So sometimes people were sending suddenly birthday SMS to the entire database that they had, or some, because the system is very flexible. With 5 clicks you can do all of those. It was very interesting that at the beginning it was new for us, and it was new for the market too. And when they were doing that, they were panicking and calling us but right now, both us and the market have matured enough, and they know it's not gonna it's not gonna do anything wrong. So
Yep.
most people will just laugh. Maybe one or two patients will call back and say, "Hey, why did you send me a birthday thing?" But most of the times, many times when people do those kind of things, it actually creates a conversation point, and patient calls back, and they can reactivate and even rebook those patients. So that is yeah, and sometimes we get, especially through the dashboard, numbers surprise people so much that they start talking with us that this is not right. It is not possible that I have this many cancers. Is there something wrong? And then we go and check for them. No, actually, you are really getting, for example, this many cancellations. So you really need to do something about it. So yeah, and well, sometimes it doesn't go very well, especially when they do it for their practitioners, and they realize it can easily tell everyone that, okay, this practitioner is not very performing to the standards of the other ones. Some people take that personal, but in general, what we suggest is that it is a fantastic opportunity, especially in team meetings, for them to have a chat and learn from other practitioners who are performing better, what are the strategies that they're using, and that information sharing inside team meetings when shocking data is showing up over there, is basically the foundation for improvement.
Yeah, that's great. And you were telling me before, anyone can access your dashboard?
Yes. So the dashboard is totally free, and it will always be free. So anyone who right now, we are integrating with more practice management softwares, but anyone who has Core Plus, NuCall, or Clinico, they can just come into our platform, and the dashboard is there for them for free, and they can always use it, and we will never charge for that.
That's pretty amazing. That's given people a lot of power there to, really take over their business, and amazing value. So I think that's, I highly recommend everyone get out there if you're using those systems and start to take some control of your business metrics, and then take that further and start to automate it with the system. So I think it's amazing what it can do for your practice. So I guess, where do you see this going for Clinic Apps? But where do you see the future of physiotherapy heading over the next sort of 5 to 10 years? In regards to this automation and patient management?
Yeah. So one interesting thing that I see for clinics is that there is a very good possibility now in today's world to go beyond the clinic walls for providing treatment and basically expansion, not just to work inside the clinic room, but also work outside, and even do automation for doing outside, and even going outside the country. So that is something that I'm seeing in the industry is gradually happening. Some practices have started doing some of those, but still there is a lot of work there. And maybe you're mentioning like 5 or 10 years, definitely that virtual reality and augmented reality, that will open another very beautiful potential for this industry to provide many things automated, and or maybe not automated, but happening remotely, to give the capability to not be so location based. So right now, physiotherapists, neighborhood is very important for them. Where the practice is located is very important, and that community that is around them is very important. But through automation and through these new features and technologies that are coming, what I see the future is that clinics are not going to be bound to their location that much anymore. So they will be able to provide a lot of services remotely, and also automatically. and so one practitioner, when creates a type of treatment, well, some parts of it needs human touch, and that will never go. Our DNAs are not going to change, so we always need that human interaction and that community interaction and all those kind of things. But those parts that can be automated and can be done through these technologies, I see there is a very large potential over there to expand beyond the location of the clinics, and also overseas. Like it is very okay if someone who's working with some athletes here in Australia training swimmers provide the same service to someone who is in India or is in Philippines to get the same coaching. They cannot touch those people, but many of those things can happen overseas, and that's a very good revenue generation potential, and also it helps to make health of the entire world much better. So that is something that I see coming very soon in the future.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. We've got some similar technology and an app coming out shortly for our MAT movement assessment tool, which will be able to then automate all the data from the patients. The patient will be able to even assess themselves, put in all their data, which will come through to us, but then it'll also start to then generate them evidence-based rehabilitation plans off the back of that. And that you can start to then charge, extra revenue for the patient to log in, track their sets, reps, make sure that they're getting back towards their goals to get hopefully better long-term results. So I definitely agree. I think that's definitely, the world's expanding, I think, with this technology and as it advances. Hopefully as our internet speed gets a bit better here in Australia too, that'll make it a little bit more accessible for us too, once we catch up with the rest of the world in that department. And what about clinic apps? Where's that going to go?
So right now we are doing dashboard. Dashboard is going to be a little bit better. We are adding new metrics and new ways of plotting data over there. So that's going to improve. The patient relations part. One thing that we are adding very soon is the capability to automate all the patient forms. So when a patient books or in middle of their treatment, if they need to fill some forms and sign them and do those kind of things. Right now, most people are using online capabilities like Wufoo or Google Forms or those kind of things. But there still is a disconnect between those and their practice management software. So what we will do is that we will give that capability to put everything together in one place, so they can send out those forms and automatically everything is there in their practice management software. So no human interaction is gonna be needed over there. So that's one thing. Another part that we are moving towards is some automations about invoicing. So following up with open invoices, gathering some deposits for first-time books and those kind of things. So that's another area that we are working towards. And another area is internal task management. So you can automate tracking phone calls, tracking actions that each person inside the clinic can do, and automate all of those based on the interactions that happen in the calendar, or not based on them. Like you can set stuff to happen weekly, or you can set stuff for after cancellation or after booking, or 3 months after some booking has happened or something like that. So these are the areas that we are working towards to make sure that we can help clinics to reduce all of those things that do not need human interaction or automate.
Now that excites me as a task management sort of, as a checklist type person, but it also saddens me a little bit that I've got all these elaborate spreadsheets that you're going to make redundant in a short period of time. So it's a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, so yeah, that's basically our job, to get rid of a spreadsheet. So we've done that with the dashboard and a lot of that with patient interactions, and right now we are just trying hard to make maybe Microsoft bankrupt. Yeah, that's the aim, to reduce those spreadsheets and make everything much smoother inside clinic.
Fantastic. I think that'll make the clinic processes and potentially allow those clinics to run without a reception team as well. Potentially a lot smoother too. Is that something
Yeah.
you've considered?
Yeah, so right now, because of us, many people go without reception desk. That's definitely a possibility, and that's what we see should happen. But sometimes, that reception desk, that smile, that human touch is necessary. One thing that we see is that you wouldn't need 5 people sitting in a reception desk. So that will not happen. Some people make the decision because of the type of clients and everything that they have. It is possible for them to totally eliminate reception desk. For some people, that is not possible. It will be just one. So they wouldn't need any more than one. So that will reduce a lot of costs. That right now is being spent.
Fantastic. So people would have potentially already seen, if you haven't already, head to podcast.physio and download our top 20 apps for your practice. You'll find clinic apps in there. But what are some key bits of technology and key bits of software that you couldn't live without in your business? What are some things that maybe physiotherapy could take away from a software development company?
So we use Slack a lot.
Yep.
It is our main point of contact with all of our staff, especially for my company where staff are scattered all around the world. It is very important to have that central point. And what I'm seeing is that many other clinics are using Slack for all of their communications. It's a very, very good piece of software. You can put it on their mobile and everywhere, and people get notifications instantly. And you can automate many things using it as well. And it's really, really cool. And we always use that. It's like we cannot live without it.
Yeah.
One, definitely Google and Facebook. These two are the masters of advertisement. We don't use any third parties. Some people say something like AdRoll and those kind of things are good. We don't use them. We use directly Facebook advertisement features and Google advertisement features, and we love them. It's working really fine for us, and that level of personalization that you can do using them is really good. Another system that we use is Zapier. Zapier is basically a hub for connecting different systems into each other. So you can do something in your Slack, and then based on that, you want an email to go out, or you want something to happen in your Facebook, or something to happen in your landing page, and then all of these can be interconnected with using Zapier. It doesn't need that much technical expertise, just someone who understands how internet works and how IT stuff work can easily set up things over there using Zapier. And that interconnection brings down a lot of manual work that needs to happen. Even for those people who are using spreadsheets for different things, they can automate, for example, adding a new column or adding a new row to their spreadsheet using Zapier based on some other event that has happened somewhere else. So that is a very nice piece of software out there that we use. And another thing that I'm pretty sure many people would love to know about is Canva. So it is really, really good for easily creating different graphical elements for your landing page, for this and that, everything. So it has some beautiful graphics inside it beforehand. It has very beautiful templates. You can just drag drop different things into it and just create your graphics. And another one that we use is Instapage, and that is a very good piece of software for creating landing pages, especially when you are advertising some particular thing and you want a very non-technical person, without use of any going out recruiting a developer to create those kind of things for you. You can easily use that to just drag drop. It has beautiful templates, even for those people who don't know how a landing page need to look like and all that. Predefined templates that are there. They just change their logo, change one or two images, and the landing page is ready. They click publish. It's out there. They can use Facebook and all that to send people to those pages. So these are some very nice pieces of software that I really recommend for every practice.
I definitely think there's some of my favorites out there as well. Zapier, it's your virtual assistant, really, that just runs in the background like Clinic Apps 24/7. And allows you to do some amazing things. We've got it running. I don't know how many Zaps I've got running now, but probably over 30. But it's an amazing piece of software. And Canva, for me, someone without any creativity at all, still allows me to generate some semi-decent quality pictures that we can use for social media and for our website too. So I think they're some really great tips, and you'll find those in the top 20 apps for ebook as well on our podcast.physio website. What are your top 3 ways that you can bring physiotherapy into the 21st century?
Yeah, so 21st century is a very wide century. We have 2001 and 2018 and beyond there, and a lot has changed so far. And the reason I'm saying that is that we can see some clinics are still in 1990s, some clinics are in 2001, and some clinics are today in 2018, and some clinics are thinking beyond in 2030. And it's so this spectrum. What I really want to see those people who are at least not using current technologies for their personal improvement and also for their clinic improvement to come to 2018. And one of the key things over there is using this capability of gaining new knowledge through all these capabilities out there that you can use, especially for reading books to bring everything up to speed and take you there. One thing that I use is these services that give you summaries of books. So in what I do is that in 1 hour I read like 6, 7, 8 books using those services, and then when I heard all of those, I think that okay, that one particularly is very interesting. I want to read more about that, and then during my commute and that even that you can download a summary of for an 8-hour book. You can download a 2-hour summary, or you can read the whole book, and that is a mechanism that did not exist like 5 years ago. You could not do that, and with today, when you can do that, and it will open a totally new area for personal improvement and very, very fast learning that was not possible before. And certainly podcasts are another type of this knowledge creation that definitely your listeners are already listening to the podcast, but that is something that I use a lot for doing that. Another thing is definitely automation. This is 2018, and without automation, the costs are going to go so high, and the competition will come with much lower cost and much better productivity, that it's not going to be possible to cope up with the speed that the world is going. So when we're talking about 21st century, one thing that recently I was reading about was the relationship between human being and automation right now is same relationship that human being and bicycle had. It just gives you more efficiency and effectiveness. You are using your muscles, same muscles, same energy is being spent, but you are moving much faster, and you can travel far beyond when you have a bicycle. Same thing is exactly with automation and human brain, because you can do much more with those. Right now, today, we spoke about some software out there that you can automate stuff. And when I talk with some clinics, they say, yeah, these are like 10 softwares that you're using, and then each one of them costs, I don't know, $50-$60 per month, and that will add up to $500, $600, $1,000 per month to just do these automations, and they want to save cost on that. And I compare that exactly to the same example. It's like thinking that it's gonna cost me $100 petrol for going from Melbourne to Sydney, so I will save that $100 and I'll just walk. It's it's
I like the analogies.
It's gonna give such power that that's gonna change the whole practice if they use automation inside the practice.
And while we're on the topic of pricing, what's the pricing for your system?
It's really really low. So for one practitioner, we are charging below $50. I think one practitioner is somewhere around $29 or something. And when number of practitioners go up, that price per practitioner goes down even further. So it's really cheap. Like yeah.
I think your pricing is around $100 for that practice with 5 people.
That's
if
100.
you're stopping one patient a week from missing their appointment, or if you're reactivating one patient per week, one patient per month, you're covering the cost. It's really a no-brainer, I think, for practices to be using this type of software. It can literally save you and make you thousands and thousands of dollars per month for $100 a month. It's crazy. I think if you're not using this, go out. If you've got Nucleus, you've got Core Plus, you've got Clinico, go out, have a look at the Clinic Apps. There's a free dashboard, which is, again, amazing that you can do that. That would have taken me, hours and hours and hours and hours in, Google trying to make up spreadsheets to be able to do something that puts metrics in there so simply for you. So I really highly recommend get out, check out Clinic Apps, and thank you very much, Hooten, for joining the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. That's been another episode of the 21st Century Physio Podcast. Thanks, Hooten. We'll see you, hopefully get you back in the future for a future podcast. We can talk a bit more about some great strategies that people can implement into their practice.
Sure thing. Thanks.
Thanks, mate.